The U.S. Navy's new supercarrier is going through shock trials, and that means setting off live explosives near the warship to simulate actual combat conditions. USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78, the first of a new class of aircraft carriers, completed the first explosive event of the ongoing full-ship shock trials on Friday off the U.S. East Coast, where the Navy detonated explosives near the carrier. The Navy said the carrier was designed using advanced computer modeling methods, testing, and analysis to ensure the ship is hardened to withstand battle conditions, and these shock trials provide data used in validating the shock hardness of the ship. The official Twitter account for USS Gerald R. Ford tweeted Saturday that the leadership and the crew demonstrated Navy readiness fighting through the shock, proving our warship can take a hit and continue our mission on the cutting edge of naval aviation. Though the Navy has conducted shock trials with other vessels, the latest trials with the Ford, the service's newest and most advanced carrier, marked the first time since 1987 the Navy has conducted shock trials with an aircraft carrier. The last aircraft carrier shock trials involved the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt, according to the Navy.
We're months away from completing that phase, and then we're going to go into the full ship shock trial window, which is going to happen this summer before we go into the shipyard and get some more modernization and repair and basically preventative maintenance done. What we're doing out here is super important because as you can probably hear above me, we're performing carrier qualifications for the fleet. This is providing new aviators to be able to be fully qualified, in this case in the F/A-18 Rhino aircraft, also known as the Super Hornet. So those aviators are getting their work done right now as we speak, and then later on during our time at sea, we'll be working with the training command squadron to do an initial fleet carrier qualification for those guys and gals. So super important to keep the fleet ready, and a big part of that is getting aviators qualified to land on and take off and land on the ship. Both Launcher 1 and Launcher 2, also known as Cat 1 and Cat 2, shooting Super Hornet aircraft off the bow, one after the other, and that system has really, it's so impressive, not just in the technology that's there, but in how many catapult and arresting gear events we've had over the last year and a half. We've gone from a few hundred to several thousand, so we're at 7,500 arrested landings right now on the ship. The other thing we're doing right now is our C-Squat, or the Combat System Ships Qualification Test, and that's just to demonstrate and collect a whole lot of data on the quality of our ship's combat systems, the self-defense systems that are installed in the ship, and several of those new technologies that all of you have been following. This ship right now is one of a couple of East Coast carriers that are out at sea. USS Dwight D. Eisenhower is on deployment right now. All the other ships are in some phase of maintenance or build, and as you walk around the ship, you'll see a lot of those sailors walking the deck plates and learning how it's done at sea. The best way to learn in the United States Navy, in my opinion, is to do it with hands-on at sea where we're meant to be. We're going to continue on the combat system ships qualification test elements. That takes more than one at sea period, because what we're doing right now is a whole lot of dry runs so that we know that it's safe to fire live missiles at towed targets and fast targets and surface targets and that stuff like that. So basically it's more of what we're doing right now, where we're going to finish out our C-Squat, as well as other elements of just the trials and making sure all of our gear is working. We're going to continue to do carrier qualifications, and we're going to continue to do carrier strike group integration in terms of command and control, making sure that we're learning how our communications and computer systems work so that we can enable a whole forward strike group to succeed once we're out at sea in the next opportunity. If you have a keen eye and you've been on lots of carriers, you see some extra wires and things like that. All of those connect to sensors and data acquisition systems that we're going to use in order to measure the ship's performance during that. We're going to remove some of the fragile items on the ship. So this room is a perfect example. I am not going to have this room in this configuration for the shock trial. A lot of the things in this room are family heirlooms from the Ford Foundation, so they'll have to be protected. Similarly, there are things on the ship that we know are not intended for a battle shock scenario, something like a commercially bought printer that you connect to your computer. So those printers aren't meant to withstand a ship shock trial, so we're going to remove them from the ship and save the taxpayer the expense that we already know we're likely to get. That's quite a bit of work when you have a ship with 5,000 spaces in it, so we have to prepare all of our gear. We're also going to prepare the crew, so the crew has to know what to expect. They need to practice their damage control procedures because that's something that we all need to be good at. And when we shock the ship, we need to make sure that we have the ship in as ready a condition as we can.
Shock trials are designed to test how Navy warships hold up against severe vibrations and identify potential shock-related vulnerabilities in a combat vessel. A 2007 study, sponsored by the Office of Naval Research and conducted by the MITRE Corporation's JASON program, said U.S. Navy shock trials have their origins in observations from the Second World War. During the major global conflict, it was discovered that although such near-miss explosions do not cause serious hull or superstructure damage, the shock and vibrations associated with the blast nonetheless incapacitate the ship by knocking out critical components and systems, the study said. Nearby explosions, even though vessels were not taking direct hits, would send destructive, high-pressure waves toward ships, the report said, noting that this discovery led the Navy to implement a rigorous shock hardening test procedure. After completing full ship shock trials, the aircraft carrier will return to the pier at Newport News Shipbuilding for its first planned incremental availability, a 6-month period during which the ship will undergo modernization, maintenance, and repairs prior to its operational employment, the Navy said. As a first-in-class ship, USS Gerald R. Ford has been experienced cost overruns, developmental delays, and technological setbacks, but the Navy is moving forward with the project. The Navy planned to have the carrier ready for deployment by 2024, but in May, Rear Admiral James Downey, Program Executive Officer for Aircraft Carriers, suggested the service might be able to get there sooner. There are 3 other Ford-class carriers in various stages of procurement and development, namely USS John F. Kennedy, CVN-79, USS Enterprise, CVN-80, and USS Doris Miller, CVN-81.